Hey, good afternoon. This is a Saturday special edition of Hometown Heroes. I'm here in Fort Worth. Mary Staffel, my co-host, is in Waco at a birthday party, and our dear friend Liberty Phillips is in a house in Euless. And this is a special weekend because it's kind of a reunion of some of the ambassadors of Bridge to History. Liberty, welcome and tell us what's going on today.
We have a full house today. I've got Jerry Brown and my mom right over here.
Okay.
Then the mustache man. And then we have a bunch of our Bridge to History kids who were at roll call yesterday. Y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name's Ivan White.
Where are you from, Ivan?
I'm from Indio, California.
Okay.
I'm Genevieve White, and I'm from Indio, California. I'm on a board, and I live in Waynesville, North Carolina. I'm Lily Dunn, and I'm from Mansfield, Texas. I'm Abby Hartman, and I'm from Mansfield, Texas.
And then
I'm Nathan Yokota, and I'm from Ridgecrest, California.
Okay. Well, welcome to Texas for those that are from California. Liberty, just tell us what's going on.
So we've got the kids here and we've got the guys here because I want the vets to kind of tell the kids a little bit about their service, and then the kids are going to ask them some questions and then just kind of go back and forth. So I thought we'd start with Bill, and maybe you could give a little synopsis, a quick short of your service, because obviously you got a pretty great hat on. Not everybody has that hat.
Well, I was a college student that graduated in 1970 towards the end of Vietnam, but I was also in the first lottery and I was number 8. So I thought, I'm going. And I wanted to fly, but didn't have the eyes like Jerry. Or Jerry had the eyes, but I didn't. I didn't have the math skills. So I just said, just draft me and do what you want to do. And they did. Basic in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and then AIT at Fort Ward, and then straight to Vietnam. And the first cav said, come with me. I didn't know anything about the cav. I just knew that hat was kind of scary. And they put me in an air mobile unit that we flew hunter killer teams, the Loaches at Treetop, Cobras up about 2,000. They were designed to draw fire, and the Cobras would knock it out. And if they didn't, or if they got knocked down, I was a blue. Our job was to rescue them, and or we had LRPs that we worked with, long range reconnaissance patrols. When they made contact, they would call us then also. So then put it inserted on them. And then the Cavs stood down halfway through my tour and left me there in Vietnam. And they stuck me in an office. It was quite an adjustment, but that's basically it in a nutshell.
How long were you over there?
I was there a year.
Okay. I heard some of the guys said that they were there for like a month short of a year. It was like 11 months, or
Some people
just because there was that the army was trying to cut corners.
Well, some people re-up too, so they could get an early out when they got back.
Okay.
And as it turns out, when I got back to Oakland, there's a rumor that they were giving early outs, and I was assigned. I was really stupid, which, anyways, I had pretty good. I was going to be stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado, and I looked this guy up and asked him about the early outs, and he told me, yeah, and I said, where do I sign? So I did. I was ready to get out, but in retrospect, I probably should have stayed. Too late.
Yep.
Hey, you can always sign up again.
Mm,
They got great sign up bonuses right
They don't
now.
have geriatric stuff anymore.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, Nathan.
I think a lot
Yeah,
of
would you like to?
felt that way, Bill. We wish we'd known what we knew now and just stayed in.
Oh yeah. Too late now. We're geriatric.
Yeah, go ahead, turn it around.
Okay. All right. So Nathan has a question. Here we go. Nathan has a question for Bill. Yes.
What was your favorite part about the entire experience in Vietnam?
Well, I did not know how unique my unit was. I was what they call a grunt, infantry, but I was an air mobile grunt, and I thought that's the way the world was. But if you get me in the same room with a regular grunt, they would argue the fact whether or not I was a grunt, because we were a quick reactionary force, and we get on a helicopter in a heartbeat, not knowing where we're going, and we get into a situation and get it taken care of. We had cobras and loaches in our back pockets, so we could take care of it quickly. Very seldom do we spend the night in the bush, and that's a good thing. Because a regular grunt would spend 30, 40 days out in the bush, and it gets kind of scratchy and itchy and whatever after
So
about
the
3
smell.
days.
Yeah.
So, what was one of your experiences that you'll always remember?
Well, that's not a good one.
That you can share with us.
If I can sugarcoat it, the worst mission I ever went on was one of our Hueys shot down. We expect by 51 cal, and we scrambled for it. Had to rappel in on it, and 2 of the crew members didn't get out. 2 of them did. We medevaced them, but we had to dig the other 2 out and send them home. And that I'll never forget.
Did you find out what happened to them afterwards?
The 2 that we medevaced didn't make it either.
Oh, wow.
The 2 that we dug out, obviously.
Right.
And what we found out was one of the crew had about a week left in Vietnam. That was too many times what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right when they were about to leave.
Yeah.
But there's a couple other missions, but that's the worst one. Some of them, another one almost got bit by a pit viper.
How'd that happen?
Well, that happened on a mission. The Lurks made contact. We had some blood trails. So they called us in, and then they called in a tracker dog team. And the tracker dogs repelled. Sometimes they do with the handler hold. These dogs repelled on their own. And so we sent the tracker teams out, and we were just kind of kicking back, and out of my peripheral, there was something moving over here, and it was one of those pit vipers. And I thought, no, it's not supposed to happen like this. And we had a little eye-to-eye contact, and it decided to go the other way, which is good, because they were very, very lethal. But there's all kinds of stories. I could go on forever. Some of them funnier than others, and some of them I can't tell in mixed company.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Jerry, do you want to? I know you just gave the kids a little bit of. I'm going to put this on the book here because this is a little makeshift.
Well, you probably want to know some of the real exciting things that happened.
Well, right before we got on, Jerry was telling us about when he joined the Air Force and his job with radar, which, as we all know, was pretty new. When did radar come into the picture for the Air Corps and the Air Force?
Oh, I'm guessing, but it was in the latter years of World War II. That's what it would be.
Okay.
Actually, I'd say probably about 43, maybe they started developing it. Well, let me move back. That's where we had the scopes and everything else. There was radar that was used because that goes back to the beginning day of December 7th, 1941. There was a squadron of aircraft that was coming in or expected. Again, that was identification. It was expected. There was 2 B-17s that were going to come in at a certain time and land in early morning. And they came in, they were picked up on the radar, and people who were operating them called in and said, we've got these blips coming in, and we don't know who they are or what they are. And they reported in, but you got to realize this is Sunday morning. Now, on a military base on Sunday morning, I mean, you know, anything could happen because everybody is, that's just a day, that's like a day off, except for radar, we were 24 hours around the clock. But they identified them and nothing was done about it. So that was probably true that there was 17s coming in, but there was other places where this huge conglomeration of aircraft was coming down on top of them, and nobody reported it, and it should have been. There was no excuse for to me anyway, for the damage that was done to Pearl Harbor. But of course, that was our introduction into World War II.
Right.
And that's always to this day been questioned about how did that happen, and they're still trying to figure that out.
Right. So how old were you when that happened? You were.
Well, let's see,
still in high school?
1941, I would probably be, let's see, I'm probably about 12, 13, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah, I think so.
So by the time you start working in the Air Force, radars, it's a little bit more advanced, but
Yes.
it's still kind of the new fun toy to play with.
Yes, it was, yes. And, you know, the biggest thing that we had to learn once we started school was we had to learn the alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
Abel, Baker, Charlie, Dog, Easy, Fox, and George, you know, all down.
Can you, do you all know the proper alphabet? Okay, can you just tell it to them?
Oh, boy. Let's see. Abel, Baker, Charlie, George, Howe, Item, Jig, King, okay, Love, Mike, Nan, and O was, oh my gosh. Oscar.
Oscar.
Oh my God.
Well, they've changed it up a little bit
Yeah, a
too,
little
which doesn't
bit, yeah.
help.
I got a different.
You got the new, probably the new one.
Yeah, we have the new alphabet, the phonetic alphabet.
See, I'll tell you the one that was used way back in World War II and carried on into Korea, and then after that, everything changed.
I learned the World War II one. For a while I knew it, and I used it on the phone with a Delta rep one time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just rattling it off, and he said, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I know what you're talking about."
Yeah, yeah.
Thank my old people for that.
I know. Every once in a while I hear that too, and I say, "Oh yeah, you know, you're able to Charlie Dog." Yeah, well, yeah. That's all we talk about.
Yeah. Your phone ringing?
No, it's barking.
Oh. Okay, so kids, y'all's turn. What do y'all want to ask the guys based off of some of the things you heard from Jerry before and Bill, Adam?
What were some of the, if you don't mind me asking, what were some of the biggest battles that you guys have been through?
Ours were, we didn't have any name battles like the big things that you went and saw. There was a few named ones in Vietnam. I didn't take part in those. Ours were, well, being in an airborne unit, ours were short and sweet. You know, we were the survivors, but nothing really famous like what you guys saw in Europe. So we were just kind of, you know, has-beens. He had some probably that were semi-famous, weren't you?
Well, not really. We just monitored the skies, and hopefully we picked up everything that came through and identified all. But we were in Japan, and so most of the aircraft that flew over Japan and bombed Japan were B-29s, and that's what we used to monitor. That would come down the freeway from us, and we just make sure they there was a new thing that happened, and they were called a bomber string. They were just stacked up looked like a staircase, and that's how they flew in the bomber string. And in World War II there was like this, and then one up here and over here. But they had the bomber string, so that's the biggest thing. I had, I guess my big day on the screen was July 4th of 1952, 1952, and I had run 2 in a row. I just got a hold of one, run them out over the ocean, dropped his load, and right away, oh, this is B-29, so blah, 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 talking that goes before. So I ran him out, and he dropped, and he went back. So that was my big day.
That's your moment on the screen.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, you're saying that has been is kind of a rough word, but in Vietnam, I mean, there was the significant battles, but a lot of it was just, there's a lot of patrols, there's a lot of skirmishes, there's just a lot of that repeat action for months and months.
There's tons of them. A regular grunt unit will be walking for days and then make a little contact, depending on who they call in artillery, or I was lucky to work with gunships because they could see us. I to this day, grateful I never had to work with artillery because they couldn't see you.
No.
But there was all kinds of little skirmishes all over Vietnam, and it's hard for me to pinpoint. The stuff that you saw in Normandy was huge, and we had a lot of little ones. Yeah. Well, they didn't feel little, but and there was maybe 3 or 4 or 5 that, like Hamburger Hill, and some folk calls that they, like Hamburger Hill, they took it 3 or 4 times. They go up, lose a lot, take it, and then give it back, and then do it again. But nothing nearly as famous as what you guys saw.
Where about in Vietnam were you based out of?
I was in the 3 Corps,
Okay.
which is mid. I landed in Bien Hoa and went straight to Song Bay. No, in Bien Hoa I got trained, in-country training for the cabin.
Is that BIENHOA?
BIENHOA.
Okay, so Don Kalmeyer, who we were with this morning, he was mechanic at Benoit. So that's where you came in then.
Big active, and a lot of everything there.
And that's right out of Saigon.
Hey, I've got a question for you, Bill. Did you come in on a beach landing like some of the guys did?
No.
Okay, because some of those guys, they had them all revved up to do a beach landing, and they got in the landing crafts, and the closer they got to shore, they started hearing music, and the Americans had a base there, and they were having a big party, but these guys thought they were fixing to go to war, that were getting, landed on the beach. So
I landed at Benoit, and I was diverted from Tan Son Nhut, landed at Benoit, and I'll never forget landing. The pilot said, you guys on the port side, that gray smoke is a fresh airstrike. And I thought, oh, this is not TV. Here we are. And my gut kind of locked up on me a little bit. But the people that had to go to Vietnam on a ship, I don't know how they survived it. I would have been some sort of crazy by the time I got there.
Hey, a question for Jerry. How did he get to Korea?
Troop ship.
Okay, so you did go on a ship.
That's why he's so crazy.
Do you know what troop ship you were on?
Yes, I do. Patrick. There's what's called the USS Patrick.
Like
it's
like
they
Patrick
were.
Henry?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was an old they were what they call Liberty ships in
Mhm.
those days. And everybody went down below and had, everybody slept about that like that.
What bunk did you sleep on?
On the bottom.
The bottom?
Yeah.
So the bottom is great, but what if someone,
What about
upchucks
CC?
on top of you?
Well, life is dangerous.
How long of a trip was that over?
2 weeks. It took us 2 weeks. We went up. We left San Francisco, went north, and then came back down into Yokohama in Japan, and that's where we got off. We had very rough weather for a few days while we were out there, and I mean the waves were higher than the shit you could stand on. But you weren't supposed to be out there.
Did you go up?
But we did. Yes. After a while, you feel invincible. See,
You're like,
there's
better to die above board than below.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, one of our dear friends, Melanie Throne, she's a great supporter of roll call, great supporter of veterans. She said to tell everybody hello. So she's
Hello.
out there watching us today. She was at roll call yesterday. So
Yes, she
hi,
was.
Melanie.
And Boomers, she was there too.
Yeah.
Thank you for the beverages.
But it was a pretty good ride. I didn't mind it. I'll tell you one thing that happened is that we went across the 180 parallel, and
Ooh, did you get the special ceremony?
yeah, we did all of that.
Will you tell the kids about this? So there's you explain what it is, the process.
No, I can't because I've forgotten most of it.
But it's basically you cross the equator and you get hazed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. But this, well, let me just tell you what time of year it was. It was in the wintertime when we went over. So we were in the middle of the Pacific on Christmas Day. And if we would have kept going, we would have went from the 24th to the 26th. There wouldn't have been a Christmas Day. So the captain circled around to spend a day. So we went into 20, so we had Christmas together, all of us. It was rather a sad time aboard that ship.
What is Christmas on a Liberty ship like? Do you get anything special to eat?
Yeah, we used to, before all we got was chop suey and chow mein, and one was dinner one day, and the next day that was supper, and so that's all we had was that. And by golly, they had turkey for us on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
So that was the only thing. And you had to go down to the galley, as it's called, and all the tables were stand up. You stood up, and the ship is doing this, is going through the waves, and so you had to kind of hang on to your tray with one hand and eat with the other one. Otherwise, you'd be eating off the guy next to you, and everything was slipping up and down. But that's what I remember of it. But it just made the best of what you could do. I guess we had a flu outbreak or something. We all ended up taking a bunch of pills, and anyway, that's just
sounds
life.
like a fun time.
Just life in the military. Yep, that's what it is. The thing is, when you go in the military, Bill, now he had lots of terrible times. I didn't face any of those things, and I'm very grateful that I didn't. But I always remember in the military, it says if you're drafted or if you enlist, when you raise your hand and say "I do," you belong to them, and they tell you where to go, what to do, and how to do it. And there's just no turning back. And I just tell you, young people, one of these days you'll be called. Be ready. Thank you. That's all I have.
Jenny.
So how old were you both when you enlisted?
Well, I was 18. I graduated from high school when I was 17, so that was August. That's when my birthday was. So I had to wait till October to go into the into the military. So I went into the Air Force in October.
I was an old chap. I was 21. Graduated college. I was a little bit older than a lot of the guys. There was an older guy in my unit named Yisley that had been in Korea for the duration, and this was about his 6th tour in Vietnam. His name was Yisley. I'll never forget him. He was my mentor. He knew, I mean, he knew everything. He was gospel as far as surviving in the bush.
Mhm.
What's one of the best pieces of advice he gave you when you got there?
Blend in.
How do you blend in? Because you
Well,
look very different. Everything about the Americans is very different.
Well, I was shorter of stature. You know, the Vietnamese were shorter, which I guess is good, smaller target. But we used, you know, what do we use? We used carbon paper for blackout. And he was just very observant and slow as we were progressing. And the truth be known, he was probably a functional alcoholic. He would get drunk and pull out his bagpipes at Song Bay. First time I heard that, I thought, what is this? But he was, and plus he was covered in tattoos.
Which is still quite unusual for that time. Like it was becoming more prominent, but.
I can't say covered. I just knew about his arms.
Yeah. See, my people that came in as my commanding officers and so on, they were all ex-B-17 pilots from World War II, most of them. And our first sergeant was a radio operator on a B-24, so that all of our people had stayed in and came from World War II into Korea. And we had most of our leaders, I guess you'd say, were all ex World War II fellows. So we had good people.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a question.
Yes.
David Huntley talked to you guys yesterday at roll call. What'd you think? Oh, pretty neat guy.
Yes.
Yeah, he was cool.
Can one of you give a summary of who David Huntley was and what he told you about?
Genevieve, would you like to?
He told us about his time, and he showed us a lot of pictures of what it was like in the war, and it was really cool.
Where David's not from Texas, is he? Do you know where he's from? He's from London.
That's right.
He was
a survivor.
Yeah. How do you remember? He was about your age during the Blitz and everything.
Yes. I think my favorite picture was the one he showed us, one of somebody sitting on a broken down house drinking tea.
Yeah.
Classic British.
Did he tell you about the plane crashing that he witnessed?
No.
Okay.
No, mainly he was just talking about the Blitz and the rockets.
Okay. What did he say about that? Like, was it scary or was it beautiful? Because I've heard my Gramps, I'd adopted Gramps, who was Royal Navy at D-Day, but he was a little boy during the Blitz, and he would go up on top of the theater where he worked with a bucket of water, and he would watch the bombs fall on London, and he always said it was beautiful. It was scary, but it was very cinematic. And there was a orchestral piece called the Warsaw Concerto that came out about that time, and he would hear that in his head when a musical piece like that when you watch. So that's why it's like, I don't know, it's different. So, okay. Did he tell you about his wife?
Yes.
What did he say about her? That she was from France?
Oh yeah, he saw that. He showed us a picture of her.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell us
He
much
lost
about
her.
Mm-hmm.
I was complaining about my wife fell down, broke her pelvis, and I was telling him about taking care of her, and he said, well, you're lucky. He lost his wife, and I thought, I'm bad.
It's a good, right.
I can if I can give you one thing that happened to us. We had a typhoon that came in, and the eye of the typhoon went right over the top of our base.
Ooh.
So we had 90-mile-an-hour winds, and everything was blowing. And myself and with 3 other people, we were the last of the shift that night when it hit, and we had to stay on the air with everything howling around. Then all of a sudden we got a call, says, okay, you can shut it down. And we had some brick buildings on the base, so that's where we went to. But there was 4 of us, and we locked arms, and we walked down to this other building, because you couldn't walk by yourself; it'd take you right off your feet. And it was a scary kind of thing. It was, but one of the really wonders of the sky like that was the eye went over. And it's probably about a 50-mile radius. And when that went over, it was absolutely stone quiet. And the sky was up beautiful, and the stars were out. And then all of a sudden, that had come in on you again.
The other direction.
That's really, really neat.
Oh, it was very interesting. Yeah.
I've heard about people being in the eye of the storm, and it sounds incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is. You think the whole world is blowing away around you, and all of a sudden it gets stone quiet on the bill. Yeah.
Well, I've never been in.
Did you get it?
I'm just rambling. I haven't been in one.
I've heard about that typhoon though, because a couple of there's a Navy guy down in San Antonio, Jerry Tuttle, who he was on shipboard when that typhoon came through, and Jerry loves to eat. He's a skinny guy, but he ate a lot. And the cook had just made this huge. It was like a birthday cake or something. It was beautiful. Put so much work into it. It was in the closet. The typhoon happens. They open the closet door and cake is just everywhere. So the cook was so sad. He was like, guys, just have at it. So they went in there and with their hands, they're just eating cake off the wall and everything.
That was like marriage cake.
Another one thing that you were talking about, seeing varmints running around by you too. And the only way that we could get off of the base where we were, because we were out in the middle of the rice paddies on the east coast of Japan. And so we'd ride the 6x6 in, and we were going down, we came through, we hit a branch, it was hanging over the tree, over the road, and a snake fell into the bottom bed of the truck where all these guys were sitting in there. Mm-hmm. And it was pure chaos. That was really, it wasn't, fortunately it wasn't a poisonous snake, so. But it was, anything for a little excitement.
So Jerry,
yes.
What was Japan like? Because it was just a few years post the end of World War II. What was it like during the time you were there?
Okay, that's a good question. I was very stunned by the whole thing, because up through World War II, up to 1945, we dropped, I don't know how many tons of explosive and incendiaries and everything else on Japan. The Tokyo residents basically was, because it was just, there was thatched roofs, straw roofs. They were still in that phase of architecture, and it was burned to the ground. The United States Air Force, when they flew in and bombed Tokyo, I mean, it was terrible. And in fact, they said that even in the aircraft, there was burning so much heat on the ground. And of course, there were people everywhere. And a lot of people just ran down into the river and jumped in. And anyway, there was a lot of things there, but I got there on New Year's Eve of 1952. We docked, and it wasn't, well, it was probably in like 1950, 52, 53, I got to go off site into some of the cities. You couldn't even tell that there was a war there. It was amazing. But from 1945 to 1950, was only 5 years. And the Japanese had actually rebuilt all that entire island. You could go walk around through the whole city of Tokyo and you wouldn't know a bomb fell there. It was amazing, absolutely. I only saw one place of war. We got up in the mountains where there was an air base up there, and they what they were doing, they wouldn't pour runaways. They'd make a whole place like this, and then they'd put a aircraft carrier like that, and they'd have their fighters in there, and they'd just take off. And so there was the whole place was concrete. We'd get up there, and they were the Japanese farmers were destroying it already. They were knocking all the concrete out because they wanted to plant crops up there. So, but it was that was probably the biggest thing I ever witnessed was how fast in the cities you could never tell anything ever fell. You know, any bombs ever fell on anything. I couldn't find it. And the other thing, if you want to talk about how advanced they were, I rode the speed train. I used to catch. We were south, about 150 miles south of Tokyo. So when we had our days off, we could probably go up to Tokyo because they had the 3M club up there. And I used to love going there because I was a music fiend and I loved George Shearing. And they had a band there. The Japanese were copycats. You know, if they saw something that they knew somebody liked or they'd play. They'd just copy it and do it, and they'd send it just perfect. It was just great to just sit there, listen to George Shearing. Anyway, that was about it.
So, look, we've got more of our parents back there.
Okay.
Here. So we've got 6 of our B2H students here who, of course, have been to London and Normandy studying World War II history. But I would love for you gentlemen representing Korea and Vietnam. So they've been studying World War II history, but what advice would you give to them as they continue their studies, not just of World War II history, but American history? And then do you have any questions for them that you'd like to ask them about what they learned or about their trip? And here, let me see if I can is it possible to scoot them both together?
Yeah, if we have a momentary pause, we can.
Here, we're just here we go.
Oh,
Great.
There you got it.
If we don't lose the audio.
Can y'all still hear us okay? Okay, all right.
Okay.
So what counsel would you give these students? And then do you have any questions for them?
I wanted to ask a question yesterday about what you ate.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, they ate in
This is a
France.
great
I thought
question.
they ate at
Was
Royal.
it, what were you fed? Were they trying to give you cheeseburgers or were they trying to give you French
Oh, who will talk about Michelle?
or some corn?
We ate French food because we went to the house. We went to this house and stayed there, and there was a cook, and
Oh,
so
really?
she made us a bunch of French food.
Wow.
Yeah, she made us.
Did you like it?
Uh-huh.
We
It was
did.
really good.
Good.
It was French peasant food, right? It wasn't fancy French food you'd find in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really good.
It
It
was
was
delicious.
better than the fancy food because,
Yeah, it was a homemade.
kids don't necessarily love everything, but I think you'll like absolutely every dish Michelle made. Do you remember anything in particular she did that you liked?
Cheese.
Okay, would you like to explain how they presented the cheese? Because it wasn't just here's cheese, it was an
Like
exhibit.
different. It was like different types of cheese, like blue cheese, goat cheese.
Gorgonzola.
So every day Michelle would kind of explain it to y'all, right?
Brie.
Yeah,
He's a
she
cheese
had
guy. He's from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
How are the Joe?
And she would make tarts and apple tarts.
Yes.
So
Y'all,
Too.
I think your group made the crepes.
Yeah, we made
Yes,
crepes.
So tell them about that.
we
That was
helped
fun.
make crepes for dessert one of the nights. It was a lot of fun because we've never done something like that before. It's like we flip things before, stuff like that, but it's so thin. It's really hard to get
It's a
correctly
real, it's a
done.
real light pancake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta like actually flip it instead of like using something to do it.
Did you do that? Yeah. You got a perfect crepe?
Yes, I got. When I say perfect, I mean I flipped it. Just right.
What did you put in the crepe?
I think I put strawberries and a little bit of chocolate and whipped cream. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, we had just a whole bunch of different assorted fruits and jams and things, and then we put those in there. That was it.
Well, there's one thing that we all agree on there, and it was the sandwiches.
Oh, the sandwiches were amazing.
The baguette. Yeah.
Did you like that?
What
I
were
still
they?
drew about those today.
We had big foot-long baguettes.
Oh, wow.
For lunch.
What was on it?
It
Everything?
changed every day. We had,
And like a ham or turkey on it,
yes.
chicken.
Far better than Subway.
Yes,
Yeah.
far better.
Right. We'll bring you one back next time.
Well, the best thing that I
It
had
might be a
over
little
there
chewy, but
when in Japan was I didn't really eat much of the Japanese type food, but there was a cafe there. Or, I'm sorry, a restaurant there, and it had the oh my, I hit a mental block here, but it's a very, very tender beef that's made over there. And I used to have the biggest steak every time I went in there. It was
Wagyu?
beautiful. What is that?
Wagyu?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
It's like a weird
Some sort of fillet?
WWII.
Yeah, like a fillet, yeah.
Okay, well, that's the best cut there is.
Yeah, okay, well, that's what, anyway, yeah, I was there each time. And when I didn't eat there, I had ptomaine poisoning 4 times. But I talked to the doctor about that. I said, how the heck what do you do, you know? He said, you can even just take a glass of water. If say you're thirsty, you just will stop somewhere, you get a glass of water and tip it up. He said that you can get ptomaine
You ever
poisoning.
been to Mexico?
Yeah. You ever
Did you ever
over,
get food?
you ever get over the border?
Actually, I got to ask you this because I experienced this, and a lot of people who were with us when we went over to Vietnam a couple years ago. Just an upset stomach returning home because they have a much higher bacteria,
I'll
like
tell you
natural
about-
bacteria in the stomach. So when you go stateside, you just
I'll
can't.
tell you
get
about
it.
the second day in the Army in basic training. It has to do with flora, which is the good
bacteria.
the good bacteria in your gut. But it's when you change it, things happen. In I don't know if we had uniforms yet or not. It was first or second or maybe third day. No, second day. It was the second day in the Army. And we went into a big, giant classroom, and there were some Spec 4s. I didn't know who they were. I thought they were officers. I thought they were generals. I didn't know. And somebody's hand went up and said, "Sir, where's the bathroom?" And this guy, and then a couple other people did that. And then all of a sudden I said, "Oh no." And I went up there, and there was just one left, and I jumped on it, and some poor guy behind me came running in and said, "Hurry up, hurry up." And I was going as fast as I could. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I've also been to Mexico. So it's not pretty.
Oh, Monica with revenge down there.
Well, I always say whenever you're going over the pond, don't drink the water.
Yeah.
Pop the cork or whatever.
Still have any other questions for the kids?
Well, hey, Liberty, let's kind of talk about Bridge to History.
Yes.
And I've got some pictures from one of your trips with the children, so we'll kind of talk about those. So let's just kind of talk about your program and just tell us about that.
Yes, so y'all been great to have us on a couple times talking about Bridge to History. And it's an overseas 9-day study boot camp for the kids where we start in London and then hit not everything in Normandy because there's so much to see, but we hit all the beaches and we do a lot of the cemeteries and we do a lot. It's a very packed couple of days. And then when they come back stateside, that's what we've been working on more this year, which is different stateside programs. This is our third program this year in the US. We did one earlier in March in Toccoa, Georgia with some of the kids. Nathan and Adam were there for that. There you go. And we took them to Toccoa, which is where the 101st trained. And we ran them up Currahee and we ran them down. And we only, lost a couple of kids, only a few casualties. Adam is still suffering. And then we did All American Week. And then now we've got the kids here. So it's a mentorship program, but it's to take kids who are really, really invested and excited about history and plug them in, give them the tools, the equipment, and an experience at a young age, which they can then grow with and continue on. So
Did you
this
say your
week,
third this year?
our third stateside program. Yeah, we haven't
Okay.
done we haven't done internationals with them yet. Yeah.
I'd say, Bill and I have talked about a lot of different things, but I must say, all in all, my life from the early days all the way up to what I am right today, I've had a good life and a good time. And it's what you make of it. It's what you do. It's what you take. What you want to take with you. And I once I got back here, and I got into architecture, and then went into interior design, and then I finally graduated or got where I could what do I want to say? Retired. That's what I think of. And the other thing is, for myself, it's what you make of it, like I say. And I took up running. I've done, in about 10-year period of time, about 35 complete marathons all over the United States and everything else. And I worked for some of the biggest corporations up in this part of the world and Wisconsin. And I've been everything from a nothing up to a vice president and so on. But I don't want you to ever think that what we're saying in the military that is secondhand, or it's an experience, and but it's what you make of it.
Definitely, because that's the perspective. Mom used to always say, you have your life experience, and then you can put a frame on it.
Yeah.
You put a plain frame on it or a beautiful frame. It's your choice.
Well,
What was maybe each of y'all can go down the row and talk about something that was. It doesn't have to be your favorite because that's a terrible question. But what's something that really stuck with you, or you really enjoyed from Normandy or London, or that whole experience? Do you want to start, Ivan?
Yeah. I think when we went to see a couple bridges, like the Pegasus Bridge in Lafayette, and I just thought it was interesting how there's all these bridges. Like, if we hadn't have captured them like we did with using the paratroopers and glidermen, we might not have successfully liberated Normandy because we couldn't get around. So I just thought it was interesting to see there's some parts that if you hadn't done that, the big scope might have been changed drastically.
It's, you look at a bridge and you go, how is that going to affect everything? You go, it's so small, but then you look at the grand scheme of things and you go, wow, that Pegasus Bridge, vital, important, and it changed everything. It's a great one. What about you, Genevieve?
One thing that really stuck with me was we went to a church and there was blood on the benches because it was still there because they had used it as a hospital, and the only thing they had was a little tiny handkerchief with a red cross on it to mark that it was a hospital. So that would be really scary to be inside.
And that's a real visual that's still there after 80 years. Like those blood stains are 80 years old now, which is just leaves a pretty significant impression on your mind. Adam?
Probably just the German architecture, like the bunkers that they had. I mean, they were just magnificent. How Rommel put that all together, and just like how like the bunkers inside. It's like the Merville battery, the massive, like the bunkers and the guns. I mean, they could barely take it. The Germans just heavily defended it. I mean, it was surprising of the architecture that the Germans had put together.
Mm-hmm. Very impressive. Do you remember the story of the British para who jumped with his dog at Merville? Yes, and we went and saw his grave. So there's one of the graves at the British, I think it's at the Ranville Cemetery. It has, and his name has just run out of my head. I was just telling about someone the other day, but a British para, he jumped with his dog. It wasn't a German Shepherd. It was a Shepherd dog, so big boy. And they got misdropped. And in the process of meeting up with the rest of the British paras, they got friendly fire and both of them were killed. And a couple of the other paras he was with. So they're buried at Ranville Cemetery. But it's a really sad one because he's the only British soldier over there I'm aware of that was buried with his dog. But that was over at Merville. I'm glad Merville's my favorite too. I love Merville Battery. What about you girls?
I like going to the beaches, and then I liked it when you described like how they would come up and how not just like the length of the beaches, but like also what they had to go through it, like because people were shooting at them and everything else. And I liked that because I was there and I could like imagine it too.
How far they had to get. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a big beach, really big. When you try running across it, even with just
Oh yeah, and like when Adam and Dyke would like put the gear on and then run up, and then Adam came back one time and he was like, "Wow, that was like really heavy." I was like,
yeah.
I liked not just generally a place, but like the people. When they found out that you were like American, they were like very welcoming.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Nathan.
I think the one thing that I liked about the trip was being able to talk to the veterans and hear their story.
Mm-hmm. You got a special experience because your group met with an American veteran who happened to be over there at the same time, Domenico, and he was a Navy diver, and he told you all a fantastic story in great depth and detail about rescuing a submarine. And I think it was 47 men were trapped. It was amazing. So that was very unique. Yeah, they saved them. So kids, we went to a school while we were over there. Have you all stayed in touch with some of the kids? Do you communicate with them still? Was that a good experience?
mm-hmm.
Yes.
I have a pen pal from there, and I write her, and it's really cool being able to have someone from like a different country.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if you ever go back over there, you can see her again.
Which language? In English or?
She writes me in English.
Okay, that's good.
Do you
he
have
has
a
the
pen
same
pal
one.
too?
Yeah, the same exact pen pal.
Oh, that's fantastic. And did y'all enjoy? Tell us what you were telling us in the car yesterday about the difference in the schools.
Okay, so the difference in the schools, it's kind of like we didn't get to see the whole thing. Like we didn't get to see all the schools, but from what we saw, it was more not like relaxed, but kind of relaxed. But the food was definitely different. The food was like really fresh. They served us fresh fish, and we got knives and silverware and like glass cups. And yeah.
So the chef at the school where we bring the kids, it's in Carrington. Oh, our thing is falling over. He loves his job so much, and he has a big TikTok channel now where he shows people how to make gourmet food for enormous numbers based off of his experience working in the school. So it's pretty fun, and it was really good food.
Eats fish sticks.
It definitely does.
Yeah, they teach a lot differently too.
Mm-hmm. How's that?
They like
in most, like I'm homeschooled, but like they say that in most schools they don't get taught about World War II that much, but in the French schools they seem like they knew a lot about it, and were really happy to have us. It was really cool.
That's a big rub with us old vets. Jerry's older. About
Just a year or two older.
16.
I know.
Yeah, couple weeks. But that's not being taught in our school system now. And we need it.
So
also repeat it.
how are y'all helping that? Are you talking, Adam? Did you talking to your school?
Yes. I've talked to my school about my trip and the different sites that we saw, like Omaha, Utah, Gold Juno, and Sword Beaches, and all that we got to see, and just put the climax of the main reason why we needed to do that and why it was so important and why these veterans had sacrificed our lives so that we can live our daily lives today. And they've done a lot for us, and we need to carry on their stories forever. And so we can tell that to our children and to other people who will appreciate what they have done in the future.
Are there any vets in your town who you're friends with?
My neighbor Jerry,
Yeah.
he was in Vietnam. We don't have very much.
Was Jerry in the army, or do you know what he did?
He was in the army. He
See, as goofy as I am.
I don't have much veterans in my area. He's the one who popped up in my mind. There's more. Britton Moore was one of them. He served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Wow.
And yeah. And my Papa Boy, he was.
Papa Boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Could I just make a overall statement? One of the great, we've all talked about Bill and I, about our experiences. And believe me, there are other people you can talk to that have some really, really interesting things to talk about. But I wanted to say this much, that the American military is the finest on this whole earth. And they are the best of the militaries. But I'll tell you one thing that they do. They go into a country and they free that country from the people that are oppressing them. And when they free, and the U.S. military leaves, we are not an occupation military. We go in, we free a country of oppression, and when it's all taken care of, then we leave, just like Japan. We don't occupy Japan, we don't occupy Germany. We don't occupy a lot of the countries all up through Europe and all in the South Islands. The American military has been in every war and freed many, many, many countries of oppression. But in the end, they got back on the troop ship and they came home. And I think that's the most impressive thing about the U.S. military.
Hey, Liberty, Melanie Throne, she said that, talking about Jerry, said he jumps out of airplanes too, like Liberty, along with Bill Henry. Did y'all talk about that already?
No, both these boys.
Thanks to Liberty.
Thanks to
Tell
Liberty.
us about so last year they did a tandem, not together, individual tandems. You had fun?
Oh, yeah, it was great. I loved it. It was.
How'd the mustache do?
It was, they said, you're going to go 120 miles an hour. And I said, well, okay, no problem. Because I used to race motorcycle. But anyways.
Wait. Yeah, we'll have to get to that in a second.
I didn't realize I was going 120 without my helmet on. And it's pretty ugly. Because this guy was GoPro on it. And when I got the playback, I thought, Oh, no. People are going to see that my mustache was everywhere. My face was all contorted and stuff. It was, you know, I really was disappointed. I'd like to do a static line jump, but they say I'm too old.
We can make that happen if you'll do a static line water jump.
Well, if I can get to Florida, I just
Get
don't
to
like
Florida.
those gators and sharks swimming around in that.
I mean, I
'Cause
do.
can't walk on water.
But think of what I'd read in the paper. Parachute is bitten by shark. Doesn't make sense. Only in Florida.
Yeah.
But you like jumping too. You like the shoot,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, I do.
We got to get it set up. I got to work and get another.
I've
one for
jumped
them.
three times.
Yeah. Hey, 2 more times, we can get you some wings.
Well, that's what I'm working at.
I did a
Okay.
static 50 some years ago, and now I'm too old, except unless I jump in the water.
Okay, you got to see, guys. This is
There
Mr.
you go.
This is why I call him the mustache man. This is when he was racing motorcycles.
Yeah.
I don't. You're gonna have to see that. That's and that was. How old were you when you stopped racing?
70.
Yeah. So.
It was not a really good story. I finished. It was a horrible racetrack. I was done. I just wanted to get off the bike and get my leathers off and get a beer. The track was horrible. I finished in last place, so it was not a good story. But it says time to hang it up. Can't afford
That's
this
a
anymore.
story of courage, is what that is.
No, it's a story
Yeah.
of bad investment. But
Well,
it was a good ride.
Yeah, that's what I said. The guy, you know, it takes courage to finish a race even if you're last.
Well, first you
That last would be rough. I just maybe not.
the first step is to show up,
Yeah.
and then you get a good start, and then you hurry every chance you get,
Yeah.
and you might get a good finish.
Yeah.
Or you might break. Every now and then you break. There's real highs and real lows.
You know, I was doing marathons, but I was never concerned about whether I was ever first place or because I didn't do all those things until I was in my 60s. So
You're probably first in your age group.
Yeah. Well, no, that's some boys that were pretty good, but the whole thing is that you just, if you're going to start a race, finish it.
First step is to show
So
up.
both of y'all are. How old are you? You're
91.
And how old are you?
75.
So y'all are both very fit still, very athletic still, moving around,
I've got
running
the
around.
same vertical leap I had in college, but I come down faster.
So this is not ordinary for. You said 76?
75. Don't give them an extra year.
I'm not trying to.
Well, it's getting close.
Okay, it's not ordinary though for someone who's 75 and 91 to be running around and so busy as y'all are. Y'all are so busy.
Well, if you stop,
What advice do you give to the kids so
Don't
that
stop.
they can,
Don't stop.
age gracefully?
If I tried to keep up with her, I'd probably fall over. And I don't know how I caught you. She was yawning. I don't know how you do it.
Day
Just
by
don't
day.
stop.
Yeah.
Even when it hurts, don't stop. Because at my age, it's gonna hurt.
But you run still?
I had to quit.
Okay,
I compressed my spine.
okay. But now you coach swimming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're really busy. Society says 60, 65, you retire, sit, do nothing for the rest of your life.
Well, if you're gonna drink diuretics with carbs,
Yeah.
you gotta stay active. You gotta burn it.
So this is good advice, kids. You just don't stop
Mhm. Yeah, that's
and
it.
start running marathons when you're 60.
We'll just try to keep up with this.
We had a roll call veteran, Ernie LaCroix,
Yes.
and on his 100th birthday, he did a 5K, the Cowtown 5K. And the news media was there, the mayor was there, they did a proclamation. And then the next year at 101, he did the 5K. There wasn't anybody there. The news media wasn't, but at 100, it was a big deal. at 101, it wasn't such a big deal. But
I think he did it when he was he died when he was 103. But he did it. I was either when he was 101 or 102. He'd been really sick, and he did it with a walker.
Yeah,
the whole 5K with his walker, which I just thought was incredible.
But he was still out there.
Yeah.
What was so impressive about that is at the starting line, these two fellows came up, and they were in a unit in the Air Force that had his same unit number from whenever he was in World War II. And they came to walk it with him and gave him a T-shirt and challenge coin. And I thought, that is something that, the heritage that he left, they picked up. So that was really remarkable. And, what you're doing with the children, just like today, having them sit at the feet of these veterans and listen to their stories, listen to them talk about their experiences, having them at roll call yesterday to be around all those veterans and getting to meet people like Tank Gunner and David Huntley and some of the great people that we have at roll call. And, that's just so admirable. And these children were so well behaved and so attentive while they were listening to those veterans. And they just came in the other day from California on Thursday, or was it Thursday night?
Yeah, Thursday night got in from California and North Carolina.
What are some of the things that y'all have been doing since you've been in Fort Worth?
What did we do today, guys?
We went to see the stockyards. So
Okay.
that was fun.
Now, in California, you don't have rodeos, you have rodeos.
they're posh out there.
I lived in Monterey, California for a couple of years, and they kept saying rodeo, and I said, "What's that?" But you have rodeos and not rodeos. But here we have rodeos. So you got to see the Longhorn Drive.
We did. They did the Longhorn Drive, and then they had a gunfight afterwards, that was a full production. That was impressive.
Was it a sponsored gunfight by the stockyards, or was it just a gunfight between a bunch of bad guys?
Definitely scripted. Thankfully, impromptu probably happens sometimes, but thankfully it was all planned.
It wasn't political.
No. Oh, and you know what we did? Shout out to Omaha Surplus, because I've been telling the boys about it.
Show your hat.
For
your beret.
Oh yeah, I've been telling the kids about it for like 2 years now. And we finally, after roll call, we went to Omaha's, and it's my favorite surplus store. Anytime I have any friend in town, if they're in San Antonio, I drive them up when we go there. So we took all the kids there, and today they were asking to go back. And Nathan, what do you got there? You want to show us?
I bought a beret when I was there. First cav, I can't pronounce the word.
First cav.
Yeah, first cav. Basing it off of you. So thanks to you, I'm doing a whole entire Vietnam cavalry impression for Vietnam.
So that's a good thing to have right there. They had a lot of interesting things, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Adam, did you get any?
I got German dust goggles from World War II. I got a Navy Daisy cup. I got a Bulgarian canteen.
You walked out of there with
medical
everything.
Armband, an Israeli defense shirt. Yeah, I got a lot of things.
So
a handful.
It's been busy. Yeah, and we had breakfast with Don Kalmeyer this morning, and he was the one who was over at, I can't say it because when I read it, it's different. It looks like Bien Hoa. But yeah, we had breakfast with him this morning. He survived our noise. It was wonderful. And yeah, so it's just been quite busy.
What are you going to do this evening?
We're going to have dinner with the famous Mr. Chatwin.
Okay.
And Jack Stowe, yes. Which I was going to say, I know y'all have other plans this afternoon, but y'all can come with us if you'd rather.
Well, we would. I promised Shiloh.
we can sort it out. I'll tell you what we're gonna do if we decide to. So there's stuff going on with Shiloh at the stockyard, but
Where are you going for dinner?
I think we're gonna go to like an Olive Garden or something like that. We've had a lot of heavy Fort Worth food, so now we're gonna give a little more options. You like that?
Yes.
Not gonna go get French food like French fries.
Yeah, which originated in the Belgian fries. Yeah. So we'll do something like that. You can join us too if you'd like.
Okay, I'll text you.
We'll just have everybody come show up.
We could go to Benito.
What is that?
Well, is Honor over there?
Yes, he is.
Why don't you bring him over and let's talk to him a minute. Hey, Honor.
Hey, good to see you, sir.
And this is Honor Phillips. It's Liberty's brother, and he's just like Liberty. He's into all the history and preserving history and veterans. And you were over with Liberty and Faith and your dad for the 80th anniversary of the observance of D-Day. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things you did over there?
Through just our life and the work we've been able to do, we've been able to go back for D-Day several times over this last decade, but this year was different. It was really clear that everyone could tell that the 80th was a moment that we all had to sort of take and pause and observe, not just because the veterans are disappearing faster than ever, but also because of the climate in the world, where our allied nations are as individual countries. So being there was a real sense of gravitas and pause. As I'm sure you know, we had the King of England out, the President of France, the United States President, as well as numerous other notable dignitaries. It was very crowded, which on one side of things is good. I'd rather it be crowded than empty. But we weren't able to move around quite as much this year, but it was just a fantastic experience. I met folks from Italy, from Portugal, from the Netherlands, from Holland, all coming to honor and to observe. We had amazing conversations with guys from Italy who said, I wouldn't be able to have the education I get today. I wouldn't be able to say the things that I want to, that I can say without this happening. Same is true with guys from Denmark.
We had to give the Italians a little bit of a hard time because they're like, guys, June 5 Rome is liberated and y'all didn't really help a lot with that. So what are you doing here? And they're like, we're grateful. We're so grateful to the Americans. I go, sure. Where were you in World War II?
So the round canopy parachuting team was there jumping with a bunch of other groups along with the United States military. And along with them were guys jumping from Denmark and from Finland, Sweden and Switzerland. And you could find some Latvians and Lithuanians. These guys were all coming to observe this and to honor and to show respect. It was a fantastic experience meeting all these guys. And for a lot of them, they'd come back for several years, but they all wanted to make sure to be here on the 80th. And as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, Al was there. Don Graves was there. It was a great coming together of old friends to observe, both who were there on June 6th in D-Day, as well as the broader World War II story.
And you, as Americans, we think that, hey, we were there and that's what we're really celebrating. But we had a lot of allies that were there with us. And then we had the French underground and the Norwegian underground and all those other people who were really endangering their lives and their families' lives by being in the underground fighting from the inside. Mm-hmm. So, and Liberty, you jumped 3 times?
Yes, I got 3 jumps, which was
Honor. Did you jump?
Wow. I didn't, but through Liberty's inspiration, and also probably feeling a little bit left out, we're going to see if we can change that come October. And maybe I'm seeing if I can drag a couple of these kids' parents in to come do it with me.
We see you, James.
In 10 years, maybe I can get Ivan or the rest of these guys to come jump with us. But for
Adam's
this
over
October.
there saying, yes.
So come D-Day 81 by next year, hopefully we can have the B2H
jump team.
jumping in Normandy. That would be pretty cool. Maybe
would
we
be
need a few more
hilarious.
years for that.
I need it.
Geriatric
That's a
Yes.
good, yeah.
Hey,
We need a geriatric pass.
okay, so we jumped
Water
with the
jumps.
guy.
They have water in Normandy as well.
No. We'll get you. I got to tell you about one of the guys we jumped with. He's a Vietnam guy. He's got a wooden leg. He's great. He jumps. He's your age, so come jump with us.
Okay.
Now, Liberty, you and Faith jumped, and you jumped with dresses on under your jumpsuit.
Yes, despite popular opinion on the drop zone, we were not indecent. We had, before D-Day and then after, the British and the Americans had a group of spies, which worked with the OSS and the SOE, which the British was the SOE, Special Operations Executive. Americans were the Office of Strategic Services, which turned into the CIA after World War II. And they jumped in female operatives in these enormous coverall suits. They're specially designed. If you go to, there's a couple of museums. The Army Special Operations Museum at Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty now, has one of these OSS uniforms on display. It's spectacular. But the women would wear full civilian clothes underneath, and they would land, take off their coveralls, and pop out and walk into town like they're regular civilians, and no one would know.
Yeah.
So that's what Faith and I did. Everybody else is doing I wouldn't call it reenacting, because when you jump out of a plane, that's the real deal. But what we're trying to do for the people on the ground is give them a representation as best as we can of what it was like for the soldiers in World War II when they jumped, and then give a little picture of the females who played a very special role during the war, and set up resistance groups, were couriers, were radio operators. So it was fantastic. So that's what Faith and I did, and it was terrific. We did 3 jumps. We jumped a German battery at Asville, which was fabulous. A non-drop zone jump was Mont Saint Michel, which is out a bit near the coast. It's beautiful. And then we jumped Lafayette Causeway, which was where a significant battle of the 82nd took place. And that was just cherry on the top. It was very special. So,
How
yes.
many total jumpers?
Oh, there was
Thousands?
the Americans, the civilian jumpers was about 1,500. And then the Army brought out, I think, another 1,000,
1,200.
1,200.
Wow.
So we weren't all jumping at the same time. It was all throughout the days. But on the Lafayette day, I think that day about 1,600 jumpers hit Lafayette. And considering the number, the casualties were very, very low. I think in our team, only 3 people of all of the jumps hurt themselves. So we did it was pretty good odds.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good survival rate. But you didn't have Germans shooting at you either.
No, we had the Germans jumping with us instead, which is, a little ironic twisteroo, but I love that. So yes, no Germans. The experience is very different from when our boys jumped in 44. Thankfully, they paved the way so that now we can have fun showing people what it's like to fall from the sky.
Yeah. How about your mom? Is she there? Can she talk to us for a little bit? There she is. Okay. We're so proud of your children. Just like yesterday at roll call, they were talking about you raising your children, and then, the legacy that you are leaving for your children, they're leaving for other children, just like the parents that have brought their children to study with you in Bridge to History. And, it's just such a cool deal to have seen your kids grow up, driving up from San Antonio to spend a few hours with our veterans at roll call. And you've been doing that for a long time, probably
Years, yes. 9 years. Y'all have
at
watched.
least 11 years or so, or it's 10 years old. So maybe 9 years.
Mhm.
That's a lot of driving, but you've instilled in them a love for our country, a love for our veterans and our military, and, teaching them to honor and respect our flag and our country. And just like today, being here with Jerry and Bill and listening to their stories and listen to these children that are ambassadors for Bridge to History, ask them questions and talk to them about the different experiences. That's going to last a lifetime, and certainly their trips to Bridge to History, with Bridge to History to London and Normandy. Are there some parents that like to kind of tell us about their experience having their children there?
I would love for a couple of the parents that are here to jump in, because
Okay.
I just want to prep this by saying honor and remembrance are such key principles for success in life. And they pave the way. Sometimes financial success, but if not financial success, just personal success, honor and remembrance. And the kids that we have taken on these trips have come from such special families where their parents have taught their children the importance of understanding history, appreciating history, studying, and honor and remembrance. So we've got a whole bunch of parents here, and I would love for any of y'all to jump in. And I see James back there, James and Kathy Yakota right behind me, Nathan's parents. Would love for y'all to, if you were the parent that went with your child to say something, or if you were just watching from back home, just love for y'all to say something.
Yeah, it was especially humbling to stand on those beaches and to sit at those sites and to still see the remains of foxholes and understand and absorb the conflict and be there. Nathan and I talked about this on the flight home, that history you can read and you can listen to it, but to get to live it was something spectacular, and it just imprinted itself on us. And a long time ago, and this is a nice connection to you, Bill. Nathan and I started to explore places in California, and Fort Ord was one of them. And it's where Nathan started to really learn a passion for history, but specifically military history. And just it gives me the chills to think that, we're walking around some of the barracks that you might have been, drilling to or running to the bathroom
that was at Fort Leonard Wood.
Okay.
The bathroom story about Fort Ord. I don't know why. But I walked into our old antique barracks, into the bathroom, and there was about 11 commodes lined up.
Mhm.
That was it.
That's it.
And I thought,
No petitions between them.
this is
And
going.
so that's one thing you had to get used to, was to
I don't know if I ever did.
not be by yourself.
You never could sneak in there by yourself.
That's a
But
shot.
anyways, I got to get off that subject.
Lena?
I'll say a couple of things. When you have a kid, you live on a farm, it didn't, Adam is my child, and I can't even say that he picked this subject to love and study. It was something God gifted for him. And I think that there is, for these young people at such a time as this, and if you're a parent that supports and embraces what your kids are interested in and they love, then you're going to have trenches in your yard and foxholes and bunkers,
That
and
was
then
your story.
you're
I loved it.
you're going to jump on an airplane with people you've never met, and you realize that you're cut from the same cloth. Belle and Doug have done that with their children. They're an inspiration to us as parents with what we need to do with our kids. And I don't think it's any secret to anyone here or listening that there are not many people Liberty's age and coming up younger that are like her. And we aren't educating our youth in military history and history in general. We aren't raising up citizens the way we should. And so as Honor and I were having a conversation about that today, that parents have to take that up, and we have to provide them opportunities to learn and to learn stories of veterans and to meet people. And they're the ones that are going to carry that forward. They're not here by chance. This is all something that they have been pulled into to do, to carry these stories on, carry them forward. And so we, as it was said by Jerry and by Bill, we're not repeating history. We're learning and moving on. So I really appreciate, that, Liberty, what you do. I appreciate how you pull guys like you into our Bridge to History family, and you share with them information, and you give them encouragement, and for whatever they're going to come down and do, this embeds it in them, and they're going to carry that forward. So we thank you. Thank you very much.
And certainly a life-changing experience. I mean, nothing you'll get
Or the tree.
by reading a book.
Right. Going to a place is so different. You touch it, you smell it, you meet the people, you come back. And that's why we start the kids out by going to London and Normandy, is so that they can see the beaches, meet the people, go to the cemeteries, and then they come back and they've had an experience which teaches them about the war, which is different from just reading it in a book. And then they come back and they talk, that they have a different reference point, not just for World War II, but they can talk to a Vietnam vet and a Korean vet, and just the experience they had with World War II helps them understand the other stories that they're hearing.
Absolutely.
Expected part, I think, for Adam, because he was one of Liberty's younger students to go over.
He was our youngest ever.
Yeah, he was.
He was, yeah, so still the youngest. Was he had this idea of, I'm going to run on the beach. I'm going to be on Bloody Omaha. And when he set foot on Sword Beach, that was a moment of exhilaration for him. And he literally took off running. It was at sunrise, and it was the whole feel of what that landing would have been like. But there was a turning point when we went to, especially the American Cemetery. And he tangibly touched names of people with his last name from his state of North Carolina, and had an emotional response to that. He cried. He sat down, and it was the only time it rained on our trip, and he wept, seeing that, there's a field full of people that were a few years older than him, really 10 years older than him. And many of them will never have that sand rubbed across their name. Their loved ones never visit their grave. Yet he had the honor to get to be there. And he wrote down names as much as he could to take them back with him, so that, he felt that he had an obligation to do that. And that's something powerful that I can't get him to feel or understand in a book or a video.
Back to you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah. We can keep talking about this forever and ever. But
Well, tell our audience how the program works and how they could get their children to be part of Bridge to History.
it's pretty straightforward. If you have a kid our age group is between 8, 9 to 12. But I would say if you have a kid who's a little bit older, 13, 14, go ahead and have them send in an application anyways, in case if we can organize a program for slightly older. But if you go to bridgetohistory.com, which you have running below, we have an application process, which you apply, and then the child has to write out an essay explaining who they are, what their interest is, why we should pick them. And then they have to do a video, because get a little writing in, get a little verbal in, show that they want to and can communicate. Because the kids we pick, it's a scholarship program, so they come for free. They have to raise a nominal amount, because that kind of gets you skin in the game. But we want to give this as a gift to kids who will take this and use this and run with it. It's not just a holiday trip. If the kids want a vacation, their parents can do that. But this is a real study program. So yes, please, if you have kids, grandkids, friends, relatives who would be interested in this, we would love to see those applications. The kids, I've got them from all sorts of states. We've got 9 states right now. My goal, I would love to have one from every state. And one of the most wonderful things is reading the applications. And even though these kids are from all ends of the country, they all say the same thing. I've been studying World War II since I was 5. An application we got last year said, I was given a Lego set of the USS Missouri when I was 5, and now I'm obsessed with World War II. I'm 9, and I have to see these beaches. So these are things which are really excited. And there's a universal, I'm getting more and more kids who are writing in saying, I've got a trench in the backyard. So it's hard to say no. If you have a business who would like to help sponsor a program, that would also be wonderful, because it is a scholarship. It is nonprofit. The trips can happen as much as we have sponsors. So if you've got a private business, private donor, or whatever, we will happily talk with you all about how to make that work out, so we can keep bringing kids over.
Or if somebody has airline miles, they could donate to you, because that's the most expensive part.
Probably 60% of we have a lot, because people are very excited to make the program happen. We do get things, people work with us, but airlines is the most expensive. So if someone wants to donate miles to Operation Meatball Bridge to History, it will go directly to the kids. Roll call via American Airlines, or American Airlines via roll call, generously brought the kids out to Fort Worth this week with miles. That wouldn't have happened at all without y'all's help. So we are so grateful to that, just tremendously grateful to both of y'all. So yes, airline miles, anything like that. And we can
on behalf of Roll Call, we have to really say that we appreciate you and your family so much, because you add so much to our Roll Call luncheons when you're there.
Roll Calls it's my family. It's my extended Fort Worth family. And I grew up with, yesterday, that's kind of what I was trying to communicate, though I was feeling so deeply. It was a weird full circle moment. I've been coming to Roll Call for nine and a half years. And then I was up there gabbing yesterday, bringing my own kids out there. So it was a very wonderful experience. And I would love Roll Call. And I was so excited to be able to share that with these kids who were my siblings' age when we started coming. So, yeah.
Well, do the kids have anything they want to say before we leave today?
Anything?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being part of the program. And Jerry, thank you, and Bill, thank you for sharing with the kids today, sharing your stories. We need to get both of you on Hometown Heroes again. I mean, Jerry hadn't been on there, but Bill's been on there. He was one of our early guests. So
that's when you're hard up for people.
Yeah, that's right.
Rick, we sure appreciate you. We appreciate you so much helping us facilitate this and just letting us tell these stories. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you all too. And this is just a picture. Can y'all see that picture there where you are?
I love that. Yeah, it's
oh wow.
That kind of tells the story.
It really does. That's
There's Liberty and some of the children. Is that at Omaha Beach?
Yeah, that's at Omaha.
Omaha Beach. And
Yep. That was
There
a
you-
special day.
Or it would. That's amazing.
Yeah.
that's just a remarkable picture showing you with these children that fall in love with you and fall in love with history in Normandy and London, and are able to go back to their schools and their communities. I know that several of them have been on the news. Some of them have been on the national news.
Nathan went national last year, which was amazing.
Really?
Made me a little bit happy when who was it? It was what's his face? Brian. I should know, but when
Fox 5.
when on the 5, the guys are saying, "Man, I wish I could do this," and I'm going, "Wait, if you were 12 years old, Nathan's doing it. I'm sorry, you can't." It was great.
That's why I'm acting here like I'm 12. Trying
You got to shave the mustache. I
Oh.
still haven't met a 12-year-old with a mustache.
Oh, I was born with this.
Well, I've enjoyed being with y'all yesterday and today. And anybody that's interested in Bridge to History, just go to bridgetohistory.com. You get more information there. You can message me or message Mary Staffel or even Liberty. On Facebook, you can find Bridge to History and Operation Meatball. That's the first nonprofit you started. And then Bridge to History is kind of an offshoot of Operation Meatball.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And sometime we need to get Faith on here to sing. So
I know we've got we got to grab her when she's not flying.
tell us the name of all your siblings.
There's a lot of them. So and they're all over the country. One of 8. So the oldest brother is Josh, and then I have a brother Justice, and then myself, Liberty. I have to count because sometimes I forget. Liberty Jubilee's next. She's married and she has a couple of fabulous babies.
To a jarhead.
Yeah.
She married a Marine.
But he's born on the Army's birthday, so I think that's a really little funny twisteroo there. Jubilee used to come out to roll call every month with us.
Yeah.
Before she got married. The vets, the World War II guys at roll call one time surrounded her and said she had to bring her boy by. And then Faith, who's in Texas still, and one day we'll get her back. And then Honor and Providence, brother, and then Virginia, the baby, who was, I think, 7, maybe. She was about 7 when we started coming to roll call, and she's about to turn 18. So
how old is she?
She's about to turn 18.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I remember when she was just a little bitty girl.
Yeah.
They grow up quick, don't they?
It does, yes.
Well, thank y'all so much for being here this afternoon. And we just love y'all and appreciate y'all. And Bill and Jerry, thank you for coming out to share with us and the children. And just thank all the children and their parents for making an investment to come to Fort Worth, to come to the promised land of Texas. So
that's the promised land. I love seeing
Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. And we will talk to you soon, okay? This is Rick with Hometown Heroes, and hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Again, bridgetohistory.com, and certainly see if your children are interested and make an application. But also, if you're interested in sponsoring or donating airline miles, it'll be much appreciated, and you'll be investing in children learning history hands-on in the places where it happened. Yep. So we will see you soon. See you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.